Early childhood is between ages 2 and 6 years old. There are many distinctions between infancy and childhood. Some physical changes in this stage is that they grow up to 12 inches, gain about 5 pounds per year, their legs make up 45% of the body, and they lose all baby teeth.
In early childhood years, neural connections in the brain are forming and are being used as well as practiced in many ways. Growing motor skills, being gross and fine, are now developing. Gross being large muscles and include playing and running, fine being small muscles and include tying shoes and drawing.
What do children's drawings tell us about their cognitive development? As children progress in their cognitive development, their drawings go from scribbles to shapes, then to representation of objects. There are two types of scribbling: random scribbling and controlled scribbling. Random scribbling is when they're drawing using dots and lines with simple arm movements, and they're simply having fun. This is around 3 years old. Controlled scribbling is drawing in which children carefully watch what they are doing, when and before they look away. They start to understand that lines can now represent objects. This is around 4 years old.
Handedness. Children's preference to using one hand over the other. Lateralization refers to a preferred side of the brain for a particular activity. So if a child is left-handed, then the right side of the cerebral hemisphere is working.
Piaget's cognitive stages of development. The preoperational period is between 2 and 7 years old. Preoperational refers to children who cannot take two things into consideration at the same time.
Who's this? Noah. What's that? Joshua. Who's that? Who's that? Taker. What's that? Pig. Who's that? Ethan.
Deferred imitation is when children can imitate an object or activity that they previously witnessed.
Symbolic play, the game of pretend.
Have you ever noticed that children in this age have imaginary friends?
Drawing. Children of this age project mental representations into their drawings. Mental images are divided into two categories. Reproductive images are restricted to sights previously perceived, and anticipatory images, which include movements and transformations. In this stage, children are limited to reproductive images only.
Realism refers to when children learn to distinguish and accept the real world. Animism is when children consider objects as alive and conscious that adults consider inert. Do you remember when your parents turned off the lights for bedtime and all the clothes in the closet turned into monsters? This belief is due to animism. Egocentrism is when a child focuses on themselves in the early phases of cognitive development. Ever wonder why children block the TV when everybody is watching? Because of egocentric thought, it doesn't matter if anyone else can see. All that matters is that they can see.
Children cannot yet manipulate and transform information in logical ways, but they can now think in images and symbols. Conservation is misunderstood. Conservation is an understanding that an object still keeps certain properties no matter how it's changed.
Centration is the focusing on one aspect of an object. Children cannot focus on different aspects of a task in this stage.
So here's a task. When asking kids younger than 6, are there more red flowers or more flowers? Children generally say there are more red flowers. Are there more red flowers or more flowers? So what does this mean? Classification is understood, but not to a level with which we are familiar with.
This is Sally. This is Anne. Sally has a ball. She puts it into her basket. Sally goes out for a walk. Anne takes the ball out of her basket. Anne puts the ball in the box. Now Sally comes back. She wants to play with the ball. Where will she look for the ball? Theory of mind represents the beliefs, desires, knowledge, and thoughts of children's mental stages, normally emerging at about 2 to 3 years of age. Memory strategies start to develop. Rehearsal is the act of repeating information to aid in memory. Organization is taking information and dividing it into different categories to aid in recall. Recognition is being able to find the answer out of a list of options, such as a multiple choice test. Recall, which is to remember an idea from the use of rehearsal.
Good preschools. There are a few key features that help define good preschools, some of which are low teacher-child ratio, specifically trained staff, how available resources are to the students, parents, and teachers, and the recognition that all children are individually different. Studies show children who start school earlier and younger are more socially and cognitively prepared to enter kindergarten and the life beyond. Many of us know how hard it is to learn a second language, as well as many of us not being able to speak a second language. So how is it that children are able to pick up language with such ease? During early years, children's language explodes. Normally around 27 to 30 months, children start to use pronouns and phrases. 31 to 34 months, children refine their use of pronouns and use auxiliary verbs. 35 to 40 months, children demonstrate embedding, which is combining clauses and phrases. Finally, at about 41 to 46 months, embedding becomes greater detailed, grammar improves, and children become better conversationalists. Children are predispositioned to be able to learn any language, and at about 2.5 years can produce full-blown sentences. At normally around 4 years of age, children have pretty much acquired the complicated structure of their native language, whatever it may be. Although other tasks such as reading and math may be problematic for children, generally mastering language comes with great ease. Some developmental characteristics of early childhood. 2.5 years old, symbolic development. Can identify objects by use, and can walk on tiptoes and jump off a floor. 3 years old, representation occurs. Uses brief sentences. Rides bike and can stand on one foot. 4 years old, proficient at counting. Uses conjunctions and understands prepositions. Skips and throws a ball overhand. 5 years old, some understanding of conservation. Beginning of language mastery. Skips alternating feet. And 5.5 years old, continuing signs of conservation, asks meanings of words, and is able to draw recognizable people now.